Hey everybody, it's Natalie V. McKenzie, and this week we're here for Living Life Authentically with yours truly. We have so much in store for you, and we've got much going on the podcast. You have to check it out. So come on over to mochapodcastnetwork.com/TWWP and check out this week's episode as we are talking with Jenny Lamlow and Patrick Mock. Stop the Asian hate is our topic. We paused on everything else. We had to bring this to you because with everything else going on, we would be remiss if we did not stop to chat with some of our friends and family here on The Whole Woman to find out how this rash of bigotry and hate against the Asian community is impacting those involved and really how they are operating within their community to help and support one another. So check us out on mochapodcastnetwork.com/TWWP. You'll see it in the link and we'll put it in the chat so you can click on right after the show and we can go over and have a podcast party together. Welcome, welcome. Spring has sprung. Can you tell? I brought out all the yellow and we are ready to flow. We have an amazing guest today who is so apropos with the theme of spring. She's full of life. She's bubbly. She's all things fun and exciting in New Jersey. She is a public relations specialist, an event planner, and founder and operator of the full-service lifestyle marketing agency Fashion and beauty, hospitality, dining, and nightlife are all her expertise. Help me welcome today's guest, Maria Falzo, founder of Hip New Jersey.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure and happy spring.
Thank you. That was quite an introduction of all things that used to be.
Nightlife, entertaining, dining,
right.
Hospitality. Well, I think we're trying to come back with the dining, and thank God we're back to spring, so everything outdoors opening up. But I can't wait to hear all about you, Maria, and how you got into this fun, fancy, exciting life of PR, event planning, and your Hip New Jersey. I can't wait. So tell us, Maria, tell us a little bit about yourself. Really, where are you from? Are you a Jersey girl?
Sure.
Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up here my whole life. My family's originally from Orange, New Jersey. But I grew up in East Hanover. I moved there at Orange when I was about 4 years old and lived in East Hanover, New Jersey. Grew up there. My whole life was there until I went to college. In the same house that my father built from when I was 4 years old. Went to Catholic school my whole life from preschool through 8th grade at St. Rosalima in East Hanover. It's not there anymore, and then I went to an all-girls Catholic school in Madison, New Jersey. So all the way through my life, I've been a Jersey girl and went to college in Philadelphia, lived there for about 4 years after. And
well, let's slow down a little bit. Let's get a little context of young Maria running around East Orange. Tell us about your family. Do you have siblings? And you mentioned your dad built the house. Give us a little bit of context of what was going on around you that was shaping you as a person.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, my dad was, a serial entrepreneur. Like he worked for Coca-Cola. He drove a truck. But he always kind of had other ideas. He drove a Coca-Cola truck. That's what I remember as a kid. He had a route, and that's what But he always had his hands in other things. So he always had, his hands in building, or he always kind of looked for the future. So East Hanover, there was nothing. There was farmland, and so his next move was to, go a little further out and buy a piece of property and build a home there and, see what that looks like. And, he continued to do that in underdeveloped, I should say underdeveloped, but yeah, I mean, underdeveloped areas in New Jersey, our shore home where, most people wanted to go to the beach and go, be closer to the ocean. My dad always wanted to go, where he thought was a little bit underdeveloped and would eventually become, a bigger deal. And
he's a visionary. He
Yeah,
was,
he usually was right. So, and I recently just got my real estate license, which I thought, was just another thing to add to it, based on my dad's experience, or I guess influence.
so you mentioned your dad quite a bit. Do you have
Yeah.
siblings?
I do. I have a brother and a sister, both younger. I am the oldest. We're all 3 years apart. My brother and sister. My brother works for government. He works for the Pentagon, so he lives down in Maryland. My sister, she lives in Rockaway. She's a nurse. She has 2 kids, and so I have a niece and a nephew. And yeah.
So what kind of trouble were you getting in as a little girl in Catholic school? Because I can relate. I went to an all-girl Catholic school as well.
Oh, where'd you go?
I grew up in Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nowhere I know.
Yeah.
I know all of them in New Jersey. But so what kind of trouble was I getting in? Oh God. Yeah. Getting in trouble, right?
Were you athletic? Were you creative? Were you a bookworm? What type of student? Because for you to grow up to be all things PR, entertainment, did that start as a young girl?
I think back on this all the time because there's like this part of me, like I'm still best friends with my best friend since I'm 8 years old. So we feel like we never grew up, like we're still stuck at like 12. So, it's just where we are. We went to grammar school together, high school together, we went to college together, like we're just like sisters.
Love.
So again, what kind of trouble? We were in theater, so we were always in the plays, so it was a very social group. I feel like I was friends with everybody. And I realize that now, like, especially with Facebook, is that I have so many different groups of friends from high school that I was just kind of friends with everybody. I just, and I feel like I know everybody's story, or I had friends, different people in different groups. I never was like just part of one clique, I guess. And I think I appreciate that a lot now. And I think I helps being a storyteller, right? So PR is like about telling stories.
Sure.
So, and I think I really love everybody's backstory and like where they came from. And I'm glad I paid attention to all of that in high school because I've tapped into so many relationships now being back in New Jersey and,
so
working.
Let's talk about that. You went to Catholic school your whole life. Where did you go off to college, and what did you study? What did you end up studying?
So I went to Philadelphia. I followed my best friend. I just said that was 8 years old. She was a year ahead of me. So she went to LaSalle, and I wanted to go to St. Joe's. I wanted to be up the street from her, but not in her school. So I went to St. Joe's, and I loved it. I met my very good friends, all there. I studied pharmaceutical marketing, and I realized that I was not interested in just schlepping drugs. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they're probably all more successful than I am and more financially secure than I am. I should have stuck with it, but I didn't. And I just had this passion for fashion, I guess. And I started working in retail, like as a part-time job. And at the time of working in retail, I was working for Express, the company Express. And I started working in Philly. I came home for Christmas break, my sophomore year of college. I worked in the Express in the Short Hills Mall. And I fell in love with the business side of retail. The business side of fashion, which is retail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or which is the end game, which is retail. And I really loved the idea of, the customer service piece. That really was like something that drew me in. I really loved working with people and helping them plan an outfit for an event, or getting to know them a little bit better and helping them, wardrobe and that piece of it. But I loved the business side. And at the time, Express was going public. It wasn't a independently owned business, privately held company anymore. It was going public, and they were doing a lot of events around it. And I just happened to be in a really store for those types of things because I was in Short Hills. So I got a lot of exposure to corporate events and what that looked like. And that really kind of took me back and said, 10 days or 5 days before I was supposed to go back to college for my sophomore year, I was like, I think I want to change my majors and I think I want to go to school for fashion marketing. And my mother was like, what? But I did it. I took a semester off. I, reapplied, relooked at my career, where I wanted to do. And I went back to school in Philadelphia to the Art Institute of Philadelphia for fashion marketing. And that's what I got my degree in. And, started working for, went back to Philadelphia and really started working for, some important people there.
So tell me about that whole exposure, because one of the things we know is breaking into the fashion industry is one of the hardest things. But the smart move is you're not trying to be a designer; you're really on the business end, which very clever. And I think you might have used some of those marketing lessons you learned while you were in the pharmaceutical marketing classes.
Yeah. So I went to college. I got an internship, which I still say is like the most important thing that anybody should do at this, in their life when they're in school. And I started working for a woman. I interned for a woman. Her name was Nicole Cashman. She's a very well-known, publicist, PR agency in Philadelphia to this day. At the time, she was 25 years old and she was the it girl in Philadelphia. But she was the director of special events and public relations for all of the Strawbridge stores. And anybody that knows retail knows, Strawbridge and Clothier was, the end all and be all of retailers in that area in Philadelphia. So, we were on the news all the time. We were doing all the PR for the stores. We were doing the launches. We were doing the fashion shows, and at the time, it was a really good time to be in Philadelphia, right? It was a really important time because Philly was really coming up to be this like metropolitan city. It was growing as a city. So it was a good time to be there. And probably 2 years into that, she decided she was going to start her own business, and she was an entrepreneur. So she started her own business. At the time, she had a partner, but it was a PR agency, and I started freelancing for her and working for her on a number of different things that were happening in the city.
That's phenomenal. So that's Philly. How did you end up back in New Jersey? Let's talk a little bit about life in Philly that gets you back into New Jersey and sitting in the seat you're sitting in today.
So it was really, I think it was an accident that got me back to New Jersey. And when I say an accident, I don't mean like, I mean like a physical accident. So I was working for her at the time. One of her clients was a restaurant, a bar that we were reopening on the Delaware River. It was a nightclub on the pier of the water. And on the week that it opened, there was some faulty things happening with the pier that I had seen a week before, questioned it. It did not, again, I was 22. So who was listening to a 22-year-old, seeing about things, holes cut in a pier? Nobody was really listening to me. On May 18th, 2000, that nightclub collapsed into the river, killing 3 people and injuring about 70. And that really kind of changed the trajectory of, why I needed to leave Philly, because I was 22. I had, I was freelancing. I had to recover from injuries and, I needed to go back home. So, where was I going? I had no family in Philly. So I had to go back home, and I wasn't done yet. I wanted to come back and I wanted to see where that took me. I recovered, but the person I started working for was the largest franchisor in the US for Hugo Boss. And he happened to live in New Jersey. I mean, who knew? So the largest franchisor in New Jersey, the largest franchisor for Hugo Boss, a global brand, lived in New Jersey. Strange. But I became his marketing director for all of his stores, and or marketing manager at the time. I was doing events and PR and stuff for him with all of his stores. So that really, but some of his stores were in North Jersey and he had stores in South Jersey. So it didn't matter where I lived.
Got it.
That's really what brought me back to New Jersey, because he had stores in both places. So I was like, why would I stay in Philly when I could live in New Jersey, rent free because I was
back at home.
back at home. And, I could stay there and kind of come back and come back to Philly when I needed to. So that's really what got me here. And because I was, again, back right outside New York, in Short Hills, in those stores all the time, I then met the mall marketing director at the mall at Short Hills, and she said, "Hey, this position's opening up at Neiman Marcus. You should go for it." And I became the marketing director, the PR manager for Neiman Marcus in Short Hills, and that really, again, took things off in another direction, and that became a big change in my life. And I was there for 4 years, and then I started the Hip event.
So let's talk about Hip event, Hip New Jersey, and how this started. What year did you start that?
I started that in 2007. So I started at Neiman's. It was 2003, and so I started Hip New Jersey, the Hip event in 2007.
So 13, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. And so this is an event management business that you initially started out as.
Yeah. So the Hip event really started out as what we called, public relations, special events, and lifestyle marketing. We didn't know what that meant then, but this was like before YouTube, before social media, before Facebook, before all of those things ever existed. And we were doing, PR, but we were doing it for, we were kind of that in-house agency for businesses, for retailers. So whether you were a salon, a spa, a boutique, we were kind of taking all of the tools that I took, learned from working for someplace like a Neiman Marcus, and really layering in community relations, philanthropic relations, the community, working with the community, but also working with nonprofits and different players in the area, and layering it into all of these types of events. So we kind of took those same philosophies and did it for smaller businesses.
So you've got this great idea, this great business that you've started ahead of your time. You've used all your experiences to create this business, and things are going well. Let's talk about how life changed for you during those 13, 14 years pre-COVID.
Yeah. So I guess I got to a certain point where I was looking for work was not the only thing to fulfill me anymore. Right. So I always wanted to get married, always wanted to have kids. And that happened in 2012. I met my husband at the time. He was a restaurant owner. So we met by chance by a client. Two different clients of mine were interested in hooking me up with the same person, but neither one of them knew each other. So, whether or not that was a good idea now or not is left to be determined. But so that was 2012. 2013, I had my first son. And then 2016, I had my second son.
So lots of life changes.
Lots of life changes. Yeah. Okay. And things like the business started to change, take a step back.
So you've got Hip New Jersey that as we know it today, which is all about the events, all about social media. And you're also on NJ12, if I'm not mistaken. Or
we were. Yeah, we were. We're not doing that right now, but it was definitely it was a good time during COVID to be on the television because everybody was watching TV.
So let's talk about how COVID impacted your business, because here we are a year later. We're starting to feel like things are starting to lighten up a bit and we can go back to some sense of normalcy. But how has COVID impacted your business? And this whole year, how has life shifted for you?
Yeah. So, March 13th, 2020 was literally the last day as I kind of knew it, because, from March 16th, which was, the Monday, I became a full-time teacher. So I had, a preschooler at home and I had a first grader. And I was now being thrown into this, teaching world, which, I think every mom did across, the country, and lots still do. Um, which was huge for me because, again, everything just kind of stopped. Like, there was no other way. I was also going through a very bad divorce, and I could only focus on so many things at once. So that was extremely, it was just a time where, I mean, everybody had their own chaos, right? Everybody's chaos was relative, but the business piece really had to take a step back for me because my kids needed me more. And that was really, all it was. And unfortunately, that changed for me. And at the time, I had a partner with Hip New Jersey, and, she saw the writing on the wall probably before I did. And she's like, there's no more events. Like, what are we doing? So she has an amazing, video production company. And she's like, I'm going to go do that. Now she had a baby, so she's going to see what that's like. So yeah, so it was just, it actually just all was like the perfect storm. Everything started to change, so, Hip New Jersey, we actually relaunched, rebranded.
Let's
Now,
talk about that, because
yes,
I love that story. You saw, you hit a roadblock, life turned upside down. You focused on the kids, which is absolutely what you needed to do at the time. But fast forward, you found your balance, your footing, and here we are with Hip New Jersey 2021 Part
yeah,
2. Tell us
yeah.
about what it looks like today and how you are moving forward.
Yeah, so now, I mean, we kind of scaled back from events because there aren't a ton of them. And if they are, they're virtual, and which are great too, but that just looks a little different, from a filming aspect. But now we're really concentrating on like 6 key areas, and we're just focusing on those. And those are fashion, family, home, celebrations, lifestyle, and wellness. And those are the categories that we throw all of our energy into. So
say that again. You're doing family,
fashion,
fashion,
family, home, celebrations, lifestyle, and wellness. And really, those are all the areas, again, serial entrepreneur, those are really all the areas that I kind of have revenue streams in. And those are all the areas that I work in. And not to say that we only do things, with clients, but that's the areas which I work in. So those are the areas of which I have like an expertise in. So those are the ones that I just wanted to stay in. And so now we do really like strategic social media programs for clients, on a much smaller level than we were before. We're still doing our once a month studio days where we invite clients and guests in to promote their business, to do a sit down interview that we push out through all of our social networks. And we have a video component. So we still offer video, and we still offer that storytelling piece. But we just do it on a more strategic and smaller scale, where we don't rely on these events, where we're bringing people in rather than having to go to them.
So Maria, here, this is what I'd like to say to you. We celebrate you for that, because this period of COVID and being quarantined and life just stopping on a dime, it's all been about the pivot, the overused word pivot, but it's really the reinvention. What do you do with the lemons now that life has tossed you a whole lemon tree?
Sure.
And it's just really amazing to see how you've rebalanced your life. Yes, you're now a single mom. Yes, your children are doing well. You're managing to, balance your health in the middle of all this, and you've reignited your business by rebranding and refocusing. We celebrate that, and that's one of the reasons that we have selected you as one of the honorees for this year's Women Honoring Women for the Whole Woman's Award Luncheon and Ceremony that this year will be virtual.
Yes.
It's a hybrid event, actually. So you can attend in person, very limited seating available, or you can join us online like you did back in January for our tea party. So we want to invite our guests to come on out and celebrate you with us as we celebrate two other amazing New Jersey women, Vivian Scott Chu and our retiring Senator Loretta Weinberg. So the link will be available online. You'll be able to check in to see how you can participate. We invite you all to come out, learn more about HIP New Jersey. HIP New Jersey, Maria, how can we find out more about you?
Yes, please go to hipnewjersey.com. And if you're on Instagram, please go to @HipNewJersey and spell out New Jersey.
That's right, because I kept doing HIP and J because we're just so lazy, and I realized, oh no, you've got to spell it all out. So Maria Falzo, ladies and gentlemen, of HIP New Jersey, they have very active social media. Every day I wait to see what she's doing next. It's at HIP New Jersey on Instagram, or it's www.hipnewjersey.com. Also, you have a YouTube page. Let's tell us about your YouTube page where all your videos are available.
Yes. If you go to our link tree right in our bio in Instagram, you will see our hashtag HipTV. Check out there, and you'll see all the categories that I talked about: fashion, family, home, celebrations, lifestyle, and wellness. And all of our videos and links are all in there.
Fabulous. I've had the pleasure of sitting with Maria as a guest for HIP New Jersey, and it's exciting. Tell us about some of the other new exciting things you have coming up on the horizon.
Yes, we definitely want to get May 6th on everyone's calendar, because we are doing our yearly event that we partner with Bloomingdale's at the Mall at Short Hills. It is called Mom Boss in Her Shoes, and we tell some remarkable stories. I moderate a panel of mom bosses, and this year, Natalie, you are one of our mom bosses. We have you, Tara Clark of Modern Mom Probs, and Vanessa Copez, who's the editor-in-chief of Bella Magazine. We have this media powerhouse, from podcasts to Instagram sensation to print magazine. So it's going to be a great day. It's a great morning. So we'll be sharing that link for May 6th. So mark your calendars.
Awesome. So before we get to May 6th, March 28th,
yes,
virtually, you're going to get all the details. We're going to be celebrating Maria Falzo. So remember, it's Sunday, March 28th, with Senator Loretta Weinberg, whom we all know. She's getting ready to retire from the Senate. We also know she's the Speaker of the House for the New Jersey Senate, and we're celebrating her. We're also celebrating a personal friend of mine, but a giant in New Jersey in all things philanthropic, music production, events, and in lifestyle, Miss Vivian Scott Chu. So join us on Sunday, March 28th, 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. We're going to be online and in person. So this is a hybrid event. Thank you, Miss Deidre Tate, and to our video production house, who does all convening on screen for us. That would be over at Brand Print, and they're helping us to telecast this live event on Sunday, March 28th, from the Ventanas on the Modern. And today you had the pleasure of meeting Maria Falzo. It's an absolute pleasure to chat with you all. I'm Natalie B. McKenzie. I am the whole woman. And today we are living life authentically with Maria Falzo. So join us next Monday, same place, same time. But in the meantime, remember, right after this show, join me on www.mochapodcastnetwork.com/TWWP for this week's episode of the Whole Woman Podcast. #Stop Asian Hate. That's the topic. That's our conversation. I wish you enough life to live, enough joy to give, enough love to share. I wish you enough. Good night.